Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Freshly Pressed. And today we have with us Justin and Rachel, the team SWAT. How are you both doing today?
I'm hanging in there. I'm feeling pretty good. Surprisingly, I think the caffeine's hitting.
I'm doing pretty well. It's been it's a nice springtime day. So
That's amazing. We have autumn here, and it's been raining since last week, so not the best of the weeks this week. But I think weekends expected to be good, so I think that's something to look forward to.
I like a nice fall rain. That seems really
Awesome.
nice.
So give us a brief history about yourself, how you both got into comics, and how you got interested, growing up, when or whenever you got into comics.
you can go first if you want, or I can go.
Who me? Oh, I am. I'm sorry. I'm my audio clipped kind of strangely. Could you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. So I just said, can you give us a bit of history about yourself, brief history, and how you got interested in comics in the first place?
Well, for me, I like I've wanted to do comics ever since I was like 5, so it's kind of like a long stretch of time. But like my earliest memories was just like getting really into comics because of like newspaper comics. I like my dad would always just like buy a Sunday edition, and I would just like love reading comics. I am one of those people who collected all of those like books of Garfield and just yeah, I know, like a Garfield human. And like I just remember like on I think it was like Windows 95. They had this like my dad would get these like these like kind of magazines and flyers and stuff in the mail. And I think he just ordered this for me. Like there was a Windows 95 program. It was like making specifically Garfield comics where like you could drop in Garfield and like there were just so many images you could drop in and then like pre-assemble them and like make grids and stuff. And so I think it's just kind of snowballed. Like then Toonami happened, and I was like, oh my god, anime exists. And then like it was just like building momentum. And by this time, I was just fully obsessed. And I went to art school and decided to just put all my chips in. So like I read Garfield, and then I decided to put all my chips in, I guess is the short answer to that.
Do you remember that Microsoft Comic Chat they had for like 2 years back in the '90s? It was like a
That
chat
sounds
room that
so
would make your own.
familiar.
Yeah, you could. It would make it your little comics. It was bizarre. It should have been way more successful, I think, than it was. But it just sort of.
I
I mean, it
miss
was.
like weird niche 90s art programs.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. Was it like making comic strips, or did you
Yeah,
You
you
make
paid.
could.
longer?
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
for which one? For like the Garfield one or the Microsoft one?
The Microsoft one.
It was just a chat room that it would animate. So you'd have your character and you'd write your line of
Oh.
dialogue, and then it would write the response would be here from like a frog, or whoever you were talking to would have their character. So it would just sort of just create kind of
I
a.
think they need to bring that back. That sounds amazing.
It was really fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those weird little things on the internet. I mean, it's Microsoft, so anything that's good, they're going to end up killing. Uh,
God, that is true though, isn't it?
And
but
also, I don't know if I want it back in this day and age with like animated AI stuff in there. I'm pretty sure they'll find a
oh,
way to squeeze some AI in there.
Oh my
yeah.
god. Yeah, now they would like have the frog that talks back to you, like run it through Chat GPT, and you're gonna get
Yeah.
something weird and strange and unpleasant sometimes. I mean, which might fuel like maybe a cool psychedelic experience, depending. but I think that might be too bland and unpleasant for the average user.
I know, I know.
I, I, it seems like the internet sort of moved away from actually communicating with people, right?
Hmm.
Because people suck, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
back in the '90s with video games, you could talk to the everyone on the server at the same time, and then after 60 million racist incidents, they just started limiting it until now you can do emotes pretty much,
Oh yeah.
and that's
But
great.
you
I
can't even
heartily approve.
Google what you want anymore. It would take you through like several different pit stops, I'm sure. Yeah, it kind of shows you things vaguely related, like whether it be YouTube or Google, vaguely related to what you're searching for, just so you might click on it and see an ad. Like it would be like a much worse version.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That
Very
is,
true.
yeah, that is.
What
I
about you,
kind of feel like
Chester?
the last few weeks, everyone's saying that Boeing's terrible because the finance guys took over and they started making crappy planes. And I'm like, I think the finance guys took over America. Isn't that like everything kind of just sucks?
Yeah,
Movies,
everything's
TV,
appearance.
whatever. Yeah,
And, like everything,
yeah,
Yeah.
what's the word? In shitification, like everything's hitting in shitification. Everything's just like becoming a worse version than it was. It's like you have to pay for it. It's the worst version. They only get worse. Eventually, we all move ship to one that's better. Eventually, that one gets worse, and you have to pay for it ad nauseum. Oh my gosh! Sorry, my
There's
cat's
also a
trying.
weird scene. Oh yeah, that's okay. They can make an appearance if they
You
want.
want to come up for a little? Okay, all right, he's here.
Yeah, there's also like a weird sameness to things now. Like I don't know why. Like even when you watch movies or listen to a lot of music, it's yeah,
It's like
finance and
thinking through
algorithms, two things that
testing.
you don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah, everything's really, I don't know, bland. Some tech bros sees it works for another tech bro, they take that, or that tech bro's company fails, he golden parachutes down to another one, uses the same thing. It's just
yeah.
that's where we're at right now.
No, absolutely not.
I have a
Cool.
I have a weird fascination with watching things fall apart. And so, like in 2010, 2008 to 2010, I was obsessed with James bankruptcy. Um, and so, yeah, the last 8 years have been really darkly. It's not as much fun when it's happening to you, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But
Yeah, it's an
yeah,
unpleasantly interesting time in history.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. I think for a very long time, like especially like we didn't have a before COVID, we didn't have like a huge pandemic in the modern times, and a lot of filmmakers and writers were obsessed with what would happen if there's a pandemic. It
Mhm.
just played out exactly how they they had imagined it out to be, or maybe even worse, maybe much
Oh
worse than they had. Yeah. So now they're like, okay, where do we go next from here?
yeah, it's like, yeah, humanity isn't banding together on this one. What do we do?
No. Yeah.
You know, I read a book about, like, I mean, it was the Black Plague, right, in like 1350 in Italy, and everyone's dying. So they have these rules about how you have to stay in your house, and people would just break it to go party. I mean, we're dumb. That was a Black Plague. That's too, like, 90% chance of dying. They're still going to go party.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty sure nobody
I
was.
don't think I've been in a huge crowd more than like, I don't know, the times I can count on like one hand ever since the pandemic began. And so I just
Yeah.
keep seeing like what all the clubs look like right now because I've been following like the Kendrick and Drake beef. Uh, and everyone's like, just like all the pictures of the clubs like blasting everyone's diss track, and I'm just like, God, I can't even imagine like being at a club right now enjoying the Kendrick and Drake beef with this many people. Like that seems completely like enjoy, like I kind of wish I could enjoy this publicly, but like I'm just gonna continue to see these like TikToks and live vicariously through them and enjoy just like my videos covering this beef right now. Yeah, that's what I've been up to lately. Is just enjoying the beef.
It's been all over. You know,
Yeah,
it,
all over the
it's
news, social media,
Drake's
everywhere.
losing, right? That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah, it's not looking
Is that
so
so?
good for. I didn't really feel the last Drake track, and it was like very defense, and that now people are like, what, there was like a shooting that was like near Drake's like mansion, and somebody tried to like break in. It's getting really serious, like really really serious
Yeah,
now. Um, so like I can't believe that it's continuing to ramp up in intensity, but like it is spilling over into violence, which is like I guess is not unusual per se for a
yeah,
high level rat beef, but like I mean I feel like most people would have thought like maybe we learned not to shoot people over rat beefs, but like you can't control that. I guess there's still like that culture of it sometimes when it gets to that sort of like hatred and intensity, and there's like I don't know, people have some bizarre ideas on how to settle uh, beefs. But yeah, it's getting pretty heated.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Tell us. Let's come back to our comics. So let's tell us a bit about SWAT, and give us a bit of
Well, it's
spiel into what the book is about, and what's the art
SWAT
like.
is the Secret Wizard Assault Team, and it's basically kind of a Harry Potter parody that veers into some pretty hard dark humor, and it's very off the wall. I think people will be there will be a disorienting sense as the story evolves, because it's just every six issues pop into a whole new thing, but it's still a coherent story. So it's kind of what we do in Shadows, plus I don't know, a little bit of Brooklyn Nine Nine maybe, but
Nice.
yeah,
I love
but
those words.
a little more aggressive. Like if Brooklyn Nine Nine and Always Sunny had a kid, and then that started to you know date what we do in Shadows, that might be kind of where we're at. That makes sense.
Nice. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, it's
I
like
absolutely love that.
at like
Sorry,
reading
Rachel.
reading and like drawing. Also, I'm sorry, I don't know if anyone can hear my cat attacking a wall. um I know how he does that. He likes to fight the wall. So SWAT is kind of like this. I don't even know how to put it. Like I've watched like certain like animated shows are like this, or like comics that do this, but you have like this core idea, and if you, it's like that thing where you take this core idea and you spin it, and it just kind of keeps spiraling upwards, and it never moves from like that sort of like central core of what it's doing, but it progresses through like so many different like arcs and further characters and things while still maintaining its identity, that it becomes pretty insane pretty quickly. But like the way it refreshes itself and
Mm,
spirals like into like yeah, like every 6 years just like the next thing, I think is very impressive.
mm.
Thank
Wow,
you.
that's amazing. That's
It
amazing.
definitely. I mean, one of the things I really loved with it, and part of why I mean, I'd wanted to get into comics for years, but I was too cheap to pay for an artist, and I was too lazy to learn how to draw. So it was kind of in a jam. But I love the structure of it. It's insane. It's completely free in one aspect. Like you can make up whatever you want. If you can draw it, it can be in the comic. But at the same time, you are under this serious time pressure where you have 22 pages. You've got to get shit done, and it's
Yeah,
been. I think it's really helped. I mean, I think I really thrived in that environment, because it's like you've got all these anchor points that you can bounce off of, but you also can do whatever you want. So
nice.
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. How do you both work together? Like, how did you find a way to, like, be in sync on certain pages or panels, or do
Well,
you
I
write this?
I feel like
Yeah,
I'm pretty easy to work with in that sense because I genuinely want to see what Rachel does with it, and I'm not trying to micromanage her. I want, you know, I just want to see what she does with it, and I've always been very happy with what she does with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of bouncing off of each other. Like it helps that like we can just text each other, and like there's a lot of like back and forth. If I have a question about something, I'll be like, float this, then he'll have an idea, run it
yeah,
by me. It's just like, I like that level of collaboration, just like ping ponging
yeah.
things. Yeah. And, like, I can almost guarantee, like, if I send him some art, that like I will get a response in like 15 minutes. So it can move pretty quickly, like on that idea phase. Yeah, like I don't know, it's just always really funny. So like which is great because like the whole comic has just like such a vibe to it. Like it's both like intense and dark, but just like so irreverent that it's a really fun kind of like is the word like repartee, just like a back and
Mm,
forth, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of ping pong, and Justin like never runs out of ideas. So like it's never rehashing the same idea twice.
That's
Well, I
awesome.
this I mean, writing SWAT just kind of I had written one series before that I am making, but um, SWAT was kind of it just was where the pressure cooker started to explode, right? Like I'm just pouring 20 years of ideas out, and
Hmm.
so yeah, it's very. Sometimes I think of the stuff I said, and I just start laughing at myself because I mean it's just bizarre sometimes, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
that's very much in the spirit of comics, I think, and I think that people will really like it when they see it. So
Yeah,
Nice.
I think people when they crack open and take a look at the samples, they're going to get a lot more than what they bargained for.
That's what we love to hear, as comic fans and comic readers. That's what we want. We want more. I think at the end of the day, comics are a form of entertainment, right? So if you're not entertained, then what's the point, right? So fun
yeah,
is what we
I
want.
definitely have
Yeah.
a. I don't. I've never quite gotten the writers that are like, I'm not really worried about being entertaining.
Yeah, I've never quite gotten that either. I
Like,
think it's important to be a little daring, a little shocking, like you have to catch somebody's interest somehow, right? Like I want people to keep reading, like I don't want this to be a dry read.
I just feel like it's
Exactly.
weirdly selfish to be like, I want you to spend 10 hours and $30 on this book, but I don't give a crap if you like it or not. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, there's got to be an element of showmanship to me. I mean, that's not. I'm not saying everything needs to be a James Patterson novel or anything, but at least give me something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
there are definitely pages where I'm like, all right, time to give them the jazz hands. Like there's definitely a
Yeah.
little bit of like where do you pull like all that like handkerchiefs out of your sleeve, like where
Yeah.
do I pull the rabbit out of the hat? Like that's I do sometimes think of like structuring like my pages like that. You have to razzle dazzle a little bit.
yeah,
I mean, isn't that what, like, the big thing about comics is? Because it's such a visual medium. If there's no razz and dazz, then yeah, it gets hard to finish 22 pages, right?
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
mean, there are comics that very eloquently do like maybe just like a 6 or 9 panel grid and make like a very serious conversation very intense. Like there are books that are structured really well like that, but they tend to push those boundaries with how like intense or evocative like those conversations can be. Um, but there are so many of them that like whip out like the same tired trope or have like the same boring dialogue. It's like no. Change it up a little bit, throw a little just just like a little like what's another one? Just like saw the lady in half, like like
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a show sometimes.
yeah.
I will say, I mean, I love comics, but if there's one thing that I would change about it, I feel like writers should put a little bit more effort into the dialogue sometimes.
Yeah,
I feel like you're twirling your mustache through the page.
Yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong, like it's not like I don't like dark and dreary comics. Like I do like them. I'm reading currently reading the Beast World run from last year from, but Tom Taylor's Beast World from Titans. Um, it's a beautiful saga. It's really well written. It's very dark, and it goes to some places that are like, oh yeah, like they went there. They actually,
Wow.
yeah. I'm familiar with
so
Tom Taylor. I haven't heard of that one. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's really good. Yes.
Beast Boy.
Yes, so Beast Boy is the central character of of the arc, and it's called Beast World, the whole saga.
I'll definitely
Um,
look into that. I know Beast Boy from Teen Titans Go, so it's like hard to picture.
Yeah, that's what sounds really like. I've never heard of like kind of a darker Beast Boys story. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what actually like I found really interesting how they converted that whole thing into a very dark comic. But again, like they don't like they do dark stuff, but they don't dwell too much upon it. So they do it like a couple of pages, but they're in terms of artwork, they're like big 2-page spreads. So you get through those parts pretty quickly. So they've done it a bit smartly, all those dark, heavy dialogue, and like that's what I appreciate about it. Like it makes the impact through the dialogue, but you don't really stop and just keep thinking about it. You just move on to the next thing, and then you're back into action again. So
Is
yeah,
that available like already as like a whole like the whole trade paperback?
yeah. I got issues, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a trade paperback coming out
Yeah,
sometime
I,
this
I think
year.
I'll have to pick that up. That sounds really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a good way to do it, but I love some levity to my comic proceedings every now and then. So yeah,
So I mean,
D-
do they print the comics in Australia? I assume they have to. They print them
yeah.
locally, Australia, and okay, yeah,
Oh,
obviously.
these ones, the DC ones, I have no idea. I have absolutely no
Hmm.
idea
Well,
if
unless they cost $15 a pop, they probably do. So
yeah, yeah. Pretty sure they do now. And like the cost of printing has gone up so much in the last year or so. Like it's been yeah,
everything.
yeah. Paper's expensive, printing's expensive. Yeah. Do
So
you are
now
you
I'm
printing?
finally seeing Justin. It's sent me a link to Microsoft Comic Chat, and this looks way more advanced than what I was thinking of. Like this existed in 1996.
Yeah,
Wow.
Man, the
it
things
was.
I would have done with this, the
Yeah,
things I might do with it now. I've thought
This
about building like a 1995, like a Windows 1995 machine. Like take me back to a simpler time when I knew what these computers were doing. I fell off technology so hard,
yeah.
and now I'm learning
I
it again, and I'm scared.
I wonder if you could get that running. You could do like a web comic type of like XKCD thing with it.
I think there's like room in like the space for this. I don't know if like have either of you ever played the game like Hypnospace Outlaw?
No,
no.
It's an amazing game. The whole premise is like it takes kind of future technology and places it in I think into the year 1996 where basically the whole premise is there is a way to access the internet like in your sleep like through these kind of like headbands or something you put on like as you fall asleep and you play the role of like an early internet moderator and the whole game looks like the internet from 1996 like with like everyone's like geocities like website with like the Microsoft Windows music player in the background. It's amazing how they've like recreated the vibe. like just like the
Nice.
oldest, choppiest like looking music videos of like whoever was hot at the time. And the music in that game is amazing. And then something happens, like the company running this, and like there's kind of an infamous crash, that causes like a people to fall into like a coma, like later on. But as you play the game, you're trying to kind of uncover like why that happened, and then like people's you're trying to moderate like people's posts, and it's yeah, it's really really wild. It's very it's also like kind of psychedelic in a way, but I think a lot of people are very nostalgic for 1996 internet. And I'm like, Hypnospace Outlaw, like it was a pretty popular, like kind of like a cult, like indie game. And you can play it, I think, like on Steam and Switch and everything like that now. I'm like, I think we can bring Microsoft like the comic maker back. I think that can happen.
I
Mm.
just sent you a link. You can download it still. So
Oh my god.
yeah.
Okay, then I think I have to build 19. It's like if I don't build a Windows XP machine, then I'm going to build a Windows 95 machine. Like
But
back in
you
the
can do that.
time.
They have software that lets you emulate. So you could probably just do that on your Mac and save a little bit of money.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is true. Like I mean like now it costs so much to have like parallels. But you know what? I wonder if I could get something like that working. They have something called like crossover that like runs through Wine. I'm probably getting way too granular for like a comic podcast, but like, I if I do something with this, I will definitely post about it. Like, keep an eye out to see if I'm on the vanguard of bringing Microsoft Comic Maker back. There could be something here.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it definitely is. Right? You could.
Mm.
There's web comics that are worse drawn than that software. So
Oh yeah, I've like looking at like there's like the image shots, like it's like there's something almost R crumb about like the like line quality of some of these samples. So like, ooh, this is a little sophisticated. Like I'm very impressed, Microsoft Comic Chat. Like what on earth? Yeah, it looks really cool, frankly. Um that kind of also even reminds me, like I think my dad got this for me too. There was a program. It was a are you either of you like familiar with like the Deleter like family of art products, basically like huge brand in Japan.
no.
Oh
Like they
no.
they made the inks are really popular. They do everything. They have like manga size paper, ink, nibs, screen tone, that kind of thing. Like I have some like over on my table even. And I think I got this in the year 2000, and it was sort of like the oldest version of Clip Studio Paint you can possibly imagine now. Which, by the way, I did have like Manga Studio before it became like CSP. Like this is like my arc. But there was just like the junkiest version of Clip Studio Paint that was available in like 2003 or something, that I think my dad ordered from me, that they had barely translated to take over into America, because this is a very Japanese software. Like I've been wrangling this stuff for like such a long time. That was probably like my first experience with like having a program that can honestly like replicate screen tone really, really well. It was also fairly stable. It didn't really crash.
Mm.
And it was so weird to use, like because everything again was so barely translated. Like I
Yeah.
have been diving into the waters of like bizarre comic making programs for a very long time, that I
Yeah.
think that like I could really get in a Microsoft Comic Chat. So like I think I feel strongly about this project right now. It's time to go back.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
is your go-to like tool to actually draw comics usually?
These days I'm mostly using like I like to start off with Procreate, because it's like I've been making comics traditionally for a really, really, really long time. Like as much as I dabbled in all of these bizarrely archaic programs, it's just like I really enjoy just being able to like draw on paper, ink on paper. And so Procreate's been great because, I it's just it has like some very natural feeling brushes. I think like the Apple Pencil is probably the best tool that I've ever used for drawing like digitally. That feels very traditional, especially when you've got like the paper-like screen. So even though it's not a program specifically like built for comics, you've got all your tools there. You got your like my favorite thing is just being able to draw a circle and then like just like the crappiest circle and then it snaps into a perfect circle that feels so good. It's so fast. Or just like all the really fast like perspective tools. Like if you know how to make a comic on paper, you can make one in Procreate. But after that, like, I'm part of the many people who use Photoshop forever. So I've got Photoshop, and then of course, like now I have Clip Studio Paint, which I'm learning a lot about. And Clip Studio Paint has been fantastic. It's really been like a huge step up from Manga Studio, and I was already very impressed with Manga Studio. But like their asset stores, amazing. They have so many different like time saving things, like dropping in the bubbles, making your panels. Again, like finding brushes that you like on the asset store. 3D models have been great. So I'm learning a lot more about like Clip Studio. But those are like my top three right now. It's just
Mm,
like Procreate, old fashioned Photoshop, and like CSP's been wonderful.
nice. Justin, do you use any specific like tools for writing, like to get you like good focus time and things like that, or like?
Well, for comics, I use a Superscript, which is kind of a program some guy made. I think he's in college or something. It's like $40. It's probably just two or three macros over a basic rich RTF file editor or whatever, but I love it. It's great. It keeps track of your characters. It does. It's basically like a script writing software for comics. Is so it's quite nice. Um, for novels, I I can't recommend Scrivener enough. I mean, that thing is
Mm,
it's a beast of a program. It's great for anything long. I mean, you don't really see the advantages when you're just writing because word processor is word processor, but in the back end when you can just pop everything into position and when
yeah,
you're writing like a fantasy story with six or seven different main characters, you've got to like it's very very helpful.
yeah.
I don't even use half the stuff you could do with it, but it's been Microsoft Word is just awful. It
I
really,
know.
It is. It's terrible.
I will tell you about this today. Microsoft, because I've been trying to use Outlook for the first time in a million years, and it's just it can do everything. It's just in the most half-assed, painful way possible, right? Like you can delay the delivery, but you got to go here and here and here, and then you got to. It's like a
Yeah,
multi-tool. It's bad at everything, but it does everything, and that's why they're so popular. I think but yeah, no, I mean Scrivener's 100% worth it. It's like 40 or $50, and it's just
That's not
such a
bad.
time. No, it's
mm,
not. I can't quite make myself buy Final Draft Pro just to beat write off a movie script that with no real plan or anything, but
mm,
I can't pirate it. Anyway, no, I mean
yeah.
What's the advantage of like was it Final what Pro?
there's you mean Final
Final
Draft?
draft.
Final
That's
Draft.
like that's like the super fancy movie writing software. I haven't used it in 20 years or anything, but it basically it's just a bunch of shortcuts where you go, interior
Uh,
warehouse, and then it'll do the dialogue for it. Basically formats it into a movie script instead of you having to do it. Is pretty much what it amounts to. Um, I think it's probably outrageously overpriced at $200, but
yeah. I mean, like, I guess if you're writing a ton of like movie scripts, like it probably saves you a ton of
oh, I
time.
mean, if I were doing it, yeah, seriously, I'd pay for it. But I mean, I think I
Yeah.
have one called Slugline that is it produces a script in a format, so you know.
Mm, mm,
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of a fancy. I'm fancy. I like fountain pens. I have Lustrum notebooks,
Hell yeah.
mechanical keyboards. I have two IBM Selectric 2, like the electric typewriters
That's
that I
awesome.
was
Oh,
using for a while
wow.
to just like bang out stuff with focus free. They died because they're a million years old, but
Mhm.
and this might be hard to believe, but there aren't a lot of typewriter repairmen anymore. So yeah,
It's kind of a shame. I still see like a ton of electric typewriters when I go to Goodwill, and I always like I dream of it. I'm like, ooh, like what if I became one of those electric typewriter people? But I, also assume it doesn't work, and I have no idea how to fix it.
Yeah.
it might. I mean, like the '80s ones are still in pretty good shape. I mean, I had two of them. One ran great until I spilled Coke on the keyboard, which I can't really blame IBM for.
Is that why
Uh,
they call you Justin Coke?
yeah,
Sorry, I had to.
yeah.
I had to.
But I mean, there's something nice about an electric typewriter, man. They just, I guess I have some nostalgia for it because I remember my grandma having, like this electric tube with the giant ball. But yeah, there was that summer, and I think every millennial had a summer where they learned HTML, you know, for their GeoCities page. Uh, Mine was awful. It would be embarrassing if I still remember what it was because it's like got midis all over the place and
Oh
hideous
my god.
backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. It was the classic bad GeoCities website.
Yeah.
To make a comeback. I think people miss like the little dancing baby gifts and like the flashing backgrounds and
It's
like I think we might be back. I'll put my if you do that, I'll put Microsoft Comics on that
Hmm.
website.
I'm
be
pretty sure some hipster might like to do it like more ironically.
Well,
Uh,
if somebody does that after this podcast comes out, then we'll be able to claim that we came up with it first. This is documented.
yeah.
So I'm glad that we've been able to really like have this recorded and put out there so that we can prove this is where it happened.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're tastemakers.
Absolutely.
You know what? I mean, honestly, if you could somehow get the feeling of that period of the internet where the idiots and jackasses hadn't shown up yet. Hmm.
I mean, I'm like, well, just like as a totally unsolicited plug yet again, if you haven't played Hypnospace Outlaw, 1,000% try that because like that's exactly what it's like. And there's still an asshole there that you have to deal with. He's a shitty teenage kid named Zane, and it's always that guy named Zane. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that he does show up in this video game. It's like, damn it, Zane, you're here to ruin the internet for me yet again. Yeah, 1,000%. Anybody interested in like a trip back to 1996 internet, please, like I beg you to play that game.
It's on sale. It's only $5 right now.
Oh, for like I think full price is like 15, and that's a steal. Like $5, there are no excuses. Please play Hypnospace
Wow.
right now.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Um,
I think you both might have answered this question already in part, but what are like your top five pop culture things that you like?
Pop culture, like anything from pop culture.
Anything from pop culture. Could be games, could be movies, could be music.
I obsessively watch Best of the Worst, which is a YouTube show about horrible '80s movies.
I
Nice.
love
Yeah,
it. When
I
you talked about typewriters, I actually thought of that because you know they how they play VCR repairman in
yeah,
one of their sketches.
yeah. No, they do it. They have like 5 or 6 different shows, but Best of the Worst is definitely my favorite. I mean, they do.
Same.
Yeah, I don't know if you know Neil Breen, but that guy's a trip.
Oh my god, Neil Breen.
Yeah,
Amazing.
they did a whole spotlight episode on his latest movie a couple weeks ago.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
Mad Max. Furiosa is the only movie I've been excited to see in since 2016, so that's great. That's definitely always up for a rewatch. Venture Brothers. I adore the Venture Brothers. Um, and I don't know. Comics
Oh,
wise, there's so many. I mean, but I've been on
mm,
a kind of a Jeff Lemire kick lately. His Sweet Tooth was amazing.
mm.
Um, and the oh god. Anyway, there's a bunch of great stuff happening in indie comics. So I'll just throw that in there as one. So that's I don't know.
For me, I mean, gosh, I'm always gonna give a big shout out to two of my favorite things on the planet, which are perennially Weezer and Final Fantasy VII. After that, I mean, I guess I've been plugging Hypnospace Outlaw pretty hard, so I'm just gonna like shoehorn
Yeah.
that in there. And then what else have I been into lately? I think like both comics wise and like TV show wise, like I'm still really enjoying like Harley Quinn the animated series.
Nice.
Um, and like what else? Like what's that fifth plug? You know what? You mentioned Venture Brothers. Like they've been doing a lot of like Space Ghost stuff lately. And I just always loved like both Space Ghost and also going to plug in Harvey Birdman. It's probably my favorite show from like Adult Swim ever.
Mm.
Maybe just slightly beating Space Ghost, but only because like I really love like Harvey Birdman. Like I really love Harvey Birdman.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I connect with him on a spiritual level. Like just like him running on the beach towards a anthropomorphic can of tab. Like there's something about that that really speaks to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I
Is it
have that
really
show
Steve
on
Carell?
DVD. I love it.
Is it Steve Carell that's on that show? Is the voice?
It is Stephen Colbert
Oh yeah, there you
as
go.
Falcon
Ah.
Seven. Falcon Seven. Yeah,
Mm.
like I don't know. I there are so many things that from that show that I've been referencing since the day I watched it that when I finally got like my wife to watch it, she's just like, "This is what you've been saying this whole time?" Like like I don't have a sense of humor or a personality. I've just watched this show like a lot. And if you thought I'm funny, this is me revealing all of my secrets to you. Actually, there's also one other thing. I can't believe she has not noticed this. This is I like anytime she'll say like, "Oh, they'll be back," I'll be like, "And in greater number." And she has never figured out that I'm just referencing Obi-Wan Kenobi for like 12 years. And like we watched that movie again. And she's just like, "Wait a minute." I'm like, "I told you." Like what do you think? Why do you think I've been saying it so like not the way I talk like this whole time? Like, please.
I uh I often think about how messed up it is that you can't watch the original Star Wars legally.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
that
it
is a
is.
I
Yeah.
hate it so much. I mean, whatever, put your crappy Jabba the Hutt that looks like it was rendered on a Commodore 64 in there, but
Mhm,
let me
mhm.
watch the original. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I agree. I agree. Like
I
it's
think.
just one of those things that got lost in
Oh yeah,
well,
yeah.
I downloaded the 4K fan restorations yesterday, and I mean,
nice.
it looks like it was filmed in the 70s, but it was. So, I'm happy with it. I haven't sat down and actually watched them yet, but um,
I think my brother actually has like one of those, like one of the last releases, like before they made like the ending, like Darth Vader, Anakin Ghost, like the Hayden Christensen like
yeah.
Ghost, and like those are so hard to find now. And every day, he also has like the hard to find like Simpsons DVDs. So like every day, I grow closer to like figuring out how to break into his house and just take them for myself.
No, oh, are those rare? The Simpsons
Like
DVDs?
they're harder to find now because they stopped making them for a really long time. And like you can stream like Simpsons episodes on like Disney Plus, but there's something about people are complaining about the way it's cropped because they were like full screen and now they're like widescreen. And so they're like kind of brought in a little bit and it sometimes cuts off part of the joke. Um, and I have been watching like older Simpsons episodes, and maybe I'm like swine, but like I think it's okay. I haven't really like seen a joke get cut off, but I haven't gone meticulously through. So like maybe I just haven't caught like anything. Maybe I haven't like seen an episode where that's like really glaring.
Mm.
But like I am consciously whenever I watch them, I'm just like, oh no, is it gonna happen? Am I gonna not see the joke? Um, and I, then there's just like the pain of paying for another streaming service when I just want to watch The Simpsons. So I was just like, I should just like commit to a life of crime and steal from my own family so I can avoid paying for more Disney Plus.
Such a dumpster fire. The whole like streaming
Yeah,
services right now. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, when you think
Well,
about it, like I'm trying to steal both Star Wars and Simpsons from them. Like they're both the things on Disney Plus. It's like how much less Disney Plus I could have in my life if I just was like, "Hey, Russ, can I come in real quick? You know, don't look at where I'm going or why I have this bag. You know,
yeah.
like yeah, it's just like I'm like always trying to collect more like physical media of whatever it is I'm in love with because I'm like now living in fear that like it's they're going to stop producing it and then I have to pay for like another streaming service, and he started on that like really early. Like he's my older brother, so I guess he got that leg up. But yeah, I'm like I wish I started doing that earlier, so like I'm doing
Mm,
that now before that happens all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a VHS thing of all the original Star Wars movies. I ended up chucking because I'm like, it's VHS. I'll get it later. No.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like when I go back to India. Because I'm originally from India, and when I go back there now, the physical media has completely disappeared. Like it's one of those places where like we had physical media in a big way for a while, but now since like it's just missed that decade of technology and just leaped forward from everywhere else. So everything is on streaming. Like there's like 15 streaming services, and yeah, there's no physical media anymore, which is so bizarre to see. Like in Australia where I live now, I can still find DVDs or Blu-rays and stuff like that, but I don't think I can find it in India at all anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm glad that like Australia is keeping like lots of physical media, but just like there's so many entertainment like juggernauts in India that like thinking about even just like specifically the Indian audience of like media can't get physical media. Like that's a whole other universe
Yeah.
of like media. Like
Yeah.
that's utterly insane to think about. I like that sucks.
Yeah, very true. Awesome. We're coming close to time, but before we go, I would love for you both to make a pitch for the book. And why should people back the campaign? Take it
Do you
away.
want to go first, Justin?
Yeah, yeah. It's well, they should back the campaign because it is a sharp, funny. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but
You just
it's
get
worth
Bill with them.
it's going to be worth it, guys. It's an insane adventure. I mean, there's I it's I honestly, if I told you how much I believed in it, you'd think I'm crazy. But I honestly think that this will be a big hit. Like once it gets going and people see it. Um, so yeah, get in early. This is one of those comics that might be worth quite a bit if you keep it in good condition.
Personally, like I mean, you are like, oh, you're gonna think I'm crazy, like ranting about how, but like the way I like to think about it is just like, look, you're gonna get proven right here. This is one of those comics I think that like absolutely, you're gonna get proven right. You're gonna read it. It's just like if you want a comic book that is both oh god, I always have like such a hard time describing Swap because it's so many things. If you just like want a good ass book, if you want something that is both like it's funny but it's heartfelt, it's action packed. You have like these outlandish characters, but you also have these like very grounded human moments, and that's always like the core of it. You've are always starting off with like this, you know, cop story and exploring these characters through these different lenses of the roles that they have to perform, like in the department, who they are, how they relate to this background, magical, mythological world. If you just want to like sit down and really digest, I think really, really densely and articulately written characters, it's just like a good book. Do you just want to have a good book? Like,
Mm,
that's why you should pick up SWAT. Like, there's no, I want to say like almost like no gimmicks here, and yet there's kind of a lot of gimmicks. If you want a deconstruction of the gimmicks, like buy the book, please back the book.
Awesome. Well, you did mention two of my favorite things: What We Do in the Shadows and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So I'm going to back
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you love those shows,
Especially right
you're gonna
now.
love the book.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna. Well, no, I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's a really. I mean, just for one thing. I mean, I don't know. One of the one of the villains, and this is not by any means a major one, but he is called Count von Zollen, and he's a goblin slash accountant slash pirate who audits people and then steals all their stuff. And so it's just that's just a kind of a minor character. It's that level of zany,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
but it's also you know will gut punch you more than once. So
Yeah,
Awesome,
it's like you want to
awesome.
read something that is utterly insane and will probably make you cry. Like, please buy the book.
it'll
That's amazing. Awesome.
yeah
You were
no
saying,
it's
Justin?
no I think that's pretty much right. I mean I am holding back right now, but to me it makes the Watchmen look like a piece of shit. I'll,
Ooh, yeah. Beef, beef, beef. That's where I've been.
the diss track's going to be dropped next week.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's everything. I mean it's I cannot whatever you end up thinking of it when you read it. This is the fullest expression of me, right? I am just pouring it out on the page. It is everything I got. If it sucks, it sucks. Then I suck. But it's very passionate. I'm very passionate
Mm.
about it, and I think that comes through in the work.
No, that's. I think we were talking about this before as well. That's what, at least I love about indie comics is when people pour that passion in, they bring a bit of themselves, and that brings a whole new level of authenticity to the book and the story and the whole thing itself. Like you said, you have strewn some dialogue which is very Midwestern or from Missouri, and that itself brings a layer of authenticity to it, right? Like people would be able to relate to it even more, even if they're not from there. So
Yeah, that's kind of my thought is you should always be very comfortable or fluent in a dialect that you're using, otherwise it
mm,
sounds fake. But I've been in Missouri my whole life, so this is just how I think people talk, and that's why I said it in Missouri and stuff like that. Um, so it is very rooted in my. I keep saying it's my autobiography, and it kind of is in an insane. I took way too much acid kind of way, I guess, but um, it's very rooted in my experience as a nerd growing up in Missouri. In the '80s and '90s and stuff like that. It's got a lot of stuff going on there. So
awesome, awesome, great to know, and all the best for the campaign. We hope it goes well, and
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
even if you don't end up backing it, if you sign up, just put your email address in. That's kind of where we're at right now. Is we need that to happen to get to the point where it will get. Oh, the campaign will be opened. So
Awesome.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
for
we
sure.
we we need some signups right now. Like no pressure to even like, you know, immediately go and like buy it and pick it up right now. Just like sign up and just check it out. Is all we're asking for really.
yeah,
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show, both of you. Appreciate your time today, and
Yeah, thank you so much,
I
Lauren.
hope you have a good campaign.
yeah, it's been
Thank
No
fun.
worries
you.
at all. Yeah. Cheers.
All right, cool.
Bye bye.
Have a nice weekend.
Hey,
Thank
yeah,
you.
have a
Bye.
good night, everyone.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye bye.